I'm Creepy Joe, one of the princesses. I'm here to shop you around and make all your selections for the day.
Well, after a cold open like that, we're all going to have nightmares. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It's June 22nd in the year 2023. Little known fact, my due date back in 1976, that's a long time ago for you kids, was actually June 22nd. I was not born until June 26th. That's right. This Monday is my birthday. Prepare accordingly, people. We are live streaming, as always, on Rumble, Locals, and YouTube. If you want to join us for the post-game show, please do at rubinreport.locals.com. We are doing a community Q&A today. You can still get in some questions on the fly. And a special welcome to the Rubin Report intern, Michaela, who is in town, in studio right now. Maybe at some point we'll have your hand just come in and you can wave to the people like the Queen. Last night, guys, in case you missed it, I was on the Fresh and Fit podcast over here in Miami. Really great show. And I did not know. So these guys, they talk about culture. They talk about chicks and sports and just all the stuff going on in the world. They're here in Brickell in Miami. They're a really cool studio. And I did not know that they're doing their show not only on Rumble, but on Locals. Like, that's the home of their show. So I walk in and they've got all this Locals signage everywhere, and they're pushing everybody to Rumble and Locals. And we talked about it for a bit. And it was just so great to see that, you know, this fight that I've been on to get editorial independence and technological independence and everything else, that because I did something that I needed, I had to solve a problem for myself and how I wanted to go about doing the show. And I was obviously one of the first guys doing the home studio thing before everybody was Zooming without pants on and everything else, that now there's all of these people in all of these other disciplines doing all this other stuff, literally all over the world, using some of the technology that we built. So that was pretty awesome. You can catch the Fresh and Fit podcast with special guest Dave Rubin on Rumble or Locals right now. And quick reminder, daverubin.store. We have relaunched the store, new shirts, mugs, hoodies, all sorts of stuff. And today's program, people, you guys know my feelings about the great Douglas Murray. Douglas is a spectacular conservative thinker out of the UK. He actually he's made one mistake in life. He lives in New York City at the moment. I'm working on getting him to the free state of Florida. He lives in New York City at the moment. It's okay. He's having a little honeymoon with New York City. But nonetheless, he was on Piers Morgan's show debating one of these crazy woke gender crusaders. And it was just a absolutely beautiful smackdown. And, you know, one of the things that I've been talking about a lot during this Pride Month, we're 22 days in Pride Month, only 8 days left. And as I keep saying, if your genitals are still attached, you're lucky, and enjoy them. One of the things that I keep saying is that, you know, the gays have to separate. The G's and the B's and the L's have to separate from the T's, because there is no movement more radically against the G's and the B's and the L's than the T's, right? If there was a group of, let's say, white male Christians that wanted to chop the genitals off the G's, I'm pretty sure everybody would be against them. But because it's the T's, somehow everyone and the corporations and big tech and everything else, the nonprofits, the NGOs, they're all about it. This is a problem. Douglas had a beautiful moment on Piers Morgan's show, so we're going to get to that. And then a Rubin Report community Q&A. Let me talk to you guys about Old Guard Petco quick, and then we'll get to it. Guys, don't all dog food companies want to be the best for your dog? Well, no, not really. Pet food companies are pushing trendy ingredients and expensive recipes like Fresh and Raw, but are they better? No. In fact, most have no proven health benefits to your dog. Also, watch as these dog food companies release bug and vegan recipes. It'll show you where their priorities really are. If you don't want to compromise on high quality ingredients and want science-backed recipes, real proven science, not Fauci science, get Old Guard. It's the only pet food company founded and run by a PhD in pet nutrition with quality ingredients like real chicken, egg, fish, oil, and probiotics. Old Guard recipes are perfectly balanced with guaranteed health benefits and a taste your dog will love. Everything, including their resealable bags, are made right here in the United States. So right now, go to oldguardpetco.com, subscribe today, and get it delivered right to your door using code DAVE for a discount. With Old Guard, you don't have to compromise ingredient quality, your dog's health, or your traditional American values. Buy from a company that puts your dog first. And now back to me. Quick point on dogs. Do you know, you guys remember Emma? Emma was my dog before, our dog before Clyde. I adopted Emma. It was, I think, 17 years ago today. It was June 22nd, 2006. She was a survivor from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. They sent the dogs all over the place. She gave birth in a box during the hurricane. She wasn't able to be adopted. The hurricane was in August of 2005. She was so sick for about 7 months, they could not release, no, more than 7 months, about 9 months, they couldn't release her. Finally, she was able to be adopted in June of the following year, and we got her 17 years ago today. I missed that beauty. All right, let's talk about Douglas Murray and the destruction of the woke. Check out this clip. This is Douglas Murray on Piers Morgan going after a woke cult ideologue who was claiming that Douglas is a mean, mean man.
A fallacy which has been propagated by gender ideologues and is doing profound damage to gay people, among others, in our society, as well as women.
Like
and let me explain very
explain
very quickly why. I can't quite hear you. I can hear you muttering something. Let me quickly explain why. A poll that just got published in the United States showed that among the general population, support for gay marriage has been starting to decline in the last year. Why is that? It's because the arguments that actually brought about liberal rights for all minorities in the last few decades have started to get turned on their head and turned against people. What is the source of that? It is the gender ideology movement. What is the tripwire for the general public? It is children. It is people learning that their children are being taught nonsensical things. It is being seen by the wider public, most of whom are heterosexual and don't need to identify as cis or anything else. It is being seen from that vantage point as the LGBTQIA+ movement losing control of itself. And so a backlash is starting. And the backlash is coming because people are lying to children and are using children for medical experiments. There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing that should cause levity in that. It should be treated by adults seriously.
Yeah. I mean, Douglas, he's just one of the best. Who says it better? That perfect Queen's English. Is it the Queen's English or the King's English? It's the Queen's English, right? I think it's the Queen's English. The King probably spoke it too. But there's a point here. You know, years ago, you could probably find an interview. I've interviewed Douglas maybe a dozen times. I think he's probably been on the Rubin Report more than anybody else. But you can find an interview of mine and Douglas from probably the fall of 2016. And he said a line that I often quote, which is that one day the barbarians will be at the gate and we will be debating which gender pronouns to call them. That's what he was saying, you know, 7, 8 years ago. And that is what is happening right now. We are watching communism, socialism, Marxism, collectivism, all of this stuff usher in, and we're debating gender pronouns. And I love that he makes a point. You know, I try to do things with a little bit of levity here, but he has a way of saying things in a very direct, clear, serious manner. That this is actually deeply depressing what these people have done. They have taken a movement that is just. Movements for equality are just. Movements to free the slaves are just. Movements to have black people vote or women vote or gay people to get married. Movements that are of equal, with the goal of attainable equal rights. So everyone that is legally here as part of the United States in this case is treated equally under the law. That is just. That's what liberal movements used to be for. But they could not leave well enough alone, right? And that's why the second gay marriage happened, the activist class, the average gay person was like, okay, wow, we did it, we're good. Let's go be human beings like everybody else. But the activist class, the people, the nonprofits, GLAAD, the HRC, all of these organizations, and by the way, you can do the racial version of this. What's Al Sharpton doing every day? All the race hucksters. They can't let it alone, right? Because they have to keep raising money by making you think everyone's racist, or in this case, everyone's homophobic or anything else. So the LGBTQILMNOP squad, they need more of this nonsense. And then they started turning it on kids, right? Suddenly you've got to be able to have a guy dressed as a puppy at a public parade, you know, basically twerking in front of a kid, and that's supposed to be okay. And we all know that it is not. So Douglas beautifully lays that out. The woman kind of jumps in, and then Douglas smacks her down just a bit more. Enjoy.
So, Douglas, it's really important, actually, all of that point that you've just brought up. It's very on brand for you because, you know, you like to stoke fear. You've actually made a career out of it. I'll take you back to your book, The Strange Death of Europe, and you made a big fright. You know, you frightened the entire public about your thoughts on Europe, and we ended up in Brexit. You weren't the sole contributor to that, but you were a big voice in that. You can't see the ridiculousness in that argument. I can't help you.
The bigger issue is there is no such thing as gender ideology. We all have gender identities. You identify as a man, and I fully respect you.
Well, no, hang on. I don't identify as a man. I was born a biological male.
Yes.
That's where this whole thing goes rogue. OK, Douglas.
Very quickly, I don't know, Ava, anything about your career. I don't know if you have one. But you did try to imply that you knew something about mine, and you just showed you know nothing about it, because actually my 2017 bestseller, The Strange Death of Europe, was not about the EU. So you should learn at some point to read more than the title of the book before commenting upon it.
He's just absolutely fantastic. First off, I love the other guy who, of course, was on the same side as the woman. I'm not even sure who that was, but turning to Piers, like trying to throw him a bone, like you identify as a man. And Piers is like, well, I am a man. But that's the whole point of how ludicrous this thing is, because if Piers had then said, you know what, I've been thinking about it while we're sitting here. I've enjoyed this debate. I'm actually a woman. The guy would have had to acknowledge that he was a woman, because that's how stupid this whole thing is, right? If you feel like a woman on any given day, I'm a cat today. All right, get him some kitty litter. Like, it's so absolutely insane. And you can also see the way they try to link everything together, right? So because Douglas has a certain position based in biological reality when it comes to the sexes, somehow she can also kind of link him to the fact that he's a xenophobe because he was for Brexit and he doesn't like immigrants or something. It is just absolutely insane. But I want to link that to something that happened right here in the United States yesterday. There was a Senate hearing. It was called Protecting Pride, defending the civil rights of LGBTQ plus Americans. Again, that acronym is completely ridiculous. These letters have nothing to do with each other, but okay, let's put that aside. You guys all know Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines is the incredible female swimmer who was basically the #1 swimmer in the entire country until Lia Thomas, who is a guy who has a penis, which, as Connor often points out, he uses as a propeller for extra speed when he's swimming. He then became a girl and started beating Riley and all the other girls in these swimming races. Riley has just about had it. She has become an incredibly outspoken voice against boys and girls swimming, which is something 10 years ago we all know we all would have agreed with. Here she is at the Senate hearing, and it's rather extraordinary.
In addition to being forced to give up our awards and our titles and our opportunities, the NCAA forced me and my female swimmers to share a locker room with Thomas, a 6'4", 22-year-old male equipped with and exposing male genitalia. Let me be clear about this. We were not forewarned we would be sharing a locker room. No one asked for our consent, and we did not give our consent. And I'll set the scene. A swimming locker room is not a place of modesty. You're undressing, you're fully exposed, and we were forced to take off our swimsuit in front of a man who was doing the exact same thing. If nothing else, I truly hope how you can see this as a violation of our right to privacy and how some of us have felt uncomfortable, embarrassed, and even traumatized by this experience. I know that I don't speak for every single person who competed against Leah Thomas, but I know I speak for many because I saw the tears. I saw the tears from the 9th and 17th place finishers who missed out on being named an All-American by 1 place. And I can attest to the extreme discomfort in the locker room when you, from these 18 to 22-year-old girls, when you turn around and there's male eyes watching in that same room. And I can attest to the whispers and the grumbles of anger and frustration from these girls who, just like myself, had worked our entire lives to get to this meet. And I can attest to the fact that around the country, these female athletes who opposed the inclusion of Lia Thomas in the women's divisions were threatened, intimidated, and emotionally blackmailed into silence and submission.
You know, that girl is a true hero. You know, a hero is not necessarily somebody who wants to be a hero from day one. A hero is someone who, along the journey, something happens, and then they choose to walk into the fire. And that's what she is. This is a girl who committed her life to being the best swimmer she could be. Happens to be a female, so you compete against other females. Do you think if you would have asked Riley Gaines 3 years ago, would you like to be, or do you think one day you will be testifying in front of the Senate because there'll be a guy in the locker room who will be beating you in swimming, she would say you're completely insane. Everyone would have said that was complete insanity. And yet here she is fighting it. And you know what's happening to her right now? The mainstream media, corporate press, blah, blah, blah. She's now far right. She's an evil conservative. She also happens to be supporting Governor DeSantis for president because he's actually fighting against that stuff in Florida. So, you know, obviously she's very scary because of that. Anyway, this hearing continued, and now let's take someone on the other side of this debate. This is Kelly Robinson, who identifies as the first queer black president of the Human Rights Campaign, and here she is defending dudes in girls' sports.
Women and some that are shorter. You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, you know, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay, so here you have the black queer head of the Human Rights Campaign saying that Serena Williams could beat men in beat men in tennis, right? Just if you put a woman against a man in tennis. It took us about 10 seconds to find this video, which we've shown you before. Here's Serena Williams on females versus males in tennis.
Well, actually, it's funny because Andy Murray, he was been joking about myself and him playing a match, and I'm like, Andy, seriously, like, are you kidding me? Because for me, tennis and men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because no, it's true. It's true. It's a completely. It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game, and I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it. Yeah. I'm not gonna let you kill me.
I'm with you when it comes to tennis. I only want to play girls. Yeah. We got that.
Oh, that's a good line, Letterman. I miss him. Look, there you have arguably the greatest female tennis player saying it's not even the same sport. Men are stronger. They serve faster. They hit the ball harder. Like, it's obvious. Everyone knows it. And people always go, when is this thing going to end, right? Like, what is rock bottom with this thing? And I'm telling you, there will be a rock bottom. And my guess is it's going to be something like this. There is going to be a 37 or 38-year-old washed up, because 37, 38, you're washed up if you're an NBA player, male basketball player. I'm talking somebody who's probably 6'8", 280, scoring 2 points a game, never particularly good, but, you know, size-wise could just make it to the NBA. He's going to retire, and he is going to suddenly give himself the name Angela, and he is going to score 35 points a game, grab 12 rebounds and 8 assists a game in the WNBA. And they will crown the WNBA MVP a guy named Angela. That is how this thing will eventually implode. But you see how insane it is. The woman, and the women, I should say, so on one hand, Riley, on the other hand, Serena, the women that have to face off against men, they know reality. But the activists want to rejigger everything the way they want it to be organized. And that really is the problem here. It is a bunch of people against reality. Once again, to quote the great Douglas Murray, the barbarians will be at the gate, and we will be debating what gender pronouns to call them. All right, we got a Rubin Report community Q&A on the other side. Let me talk to you guys about Birch Gold Group real quick. You guys know the Congress once again allowed itself to be pushed into appeasing the administration into raising the debt ceiling for the 79th time, paving the way for continued reckless spending and further devaluation of the dollar. As our national debt continues to skyrocket, how are you protecting your savings? Well, times like these are a great reminder to diversify a portion of your savings into gold, and you can do that with Birch Gold. Here's the easiest way to do it. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. You don't pay a penny out of pocket. And as BRICS, Brazil, China, India, and South Africa band together against the dollar, more and more central banks are diversifying. You know what they're buying? Yeah, gold. Follow their lead. Visit birchgold.com/Dave for your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just information with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers. Birch Gold can help protect your savings too. Visit birchgold.com/Dave. Do it. Take action today. And now a Rubin Report .locals.com community Q&A. And I want to welcome all of the new annual subscribers. We did a massive giveaway, cleared out the closet from the old merch, and a whole bunch of you are getting t-shirts and a bunch more. Welcome to everybody. Here we go. Tommy says Tucker's getting 30+ million views in 24 hours on Twitter. The question is, yes, media is changing and I see the end of legacy media. How long do you think this is going to take? How will it manifest itself? Podcasts or shows like The Rising. Will there ever be a news show without bias on Twitter or locals that are powerfully educating and not indoctrination to any side? Well, let me just be very clear. On the locals and Rumble side, we welcome everybody. So you want to come on, you want to be a crazy lefty, you want to be on the far right, you want whatever you want to be a moderate, you want to whatever you want to do. We just give you the tools to do whatever you want. You want to create a subscription system for your network or channel. That's what Locals does. You want to get it out there and get distribution. That's what Rumble does. So that's on one side. As far as the collapse of mainstream media, I mean, look, we've been seeing this forever. Our numbers on this show, if you add up, but at the end of the day right now, usually we have, like on an average day, we'll have about 200,000 views on our full live stream on YouTube, usually about 150 on Rumble. So that's about 350. There are some days where it's cumulatively over 1 million. Some days it's a little bit less. But our numbers on our hour-long live stream that we do every day at 11 o'clock, as you know, as you're watching it right now, we are now beating basically certainly every show on MSNBC. We're beating every show pretty much on CNN. We're beating many of the Fox shows. And Fox had one standout show. That one standout show was Tucker. In terms of news, right? The Gutfeld nightly show is crushing it, absolutely. That's a little bit of a different situation. They have decided they didn't want to go that route. We'll find out a little bit more why. They're obviously in this lawsuit with Tucker, and he's fighting them right now. I think the reason that he's not on Rumble is for contractual reasons. They're able to keep him off a purely video site, and he's using some legal loopholes to get on Twitter, but they're fighting that out in the legal battle at the moment. I think basically what's going to happen is that the mainstream media is pretty much like a wounded animal in the corner right now. It's wounded, it's going to die, but it will lash out relentlessly as it does. That's why for all the people that CNN fires, right? They got rid of Stelter, they got rid of Don Lemon, they got rid of Chris Licht, who was the new CEO, to turn the thing around. As many people as they fired, they're not turning it in the right direction. It's too late. The New York Times is not suddenly going to be like, oh, I guess we did lie about everything for the last couple of decades. Maybe we should fix it. Washington Post, they're all in on the thing. So they basically have to run out the clock. I don't know what that means exactly, but they're just not going to turn around. So I think the best bet for you watching this is if you think I'm doing a decent job, you keep tuning into this show. If you like Shapiro, if you like Crowder, if you like someone on the other side, you just keep supporting the people that you think are doing something roughly close to the truth. And yeah, the danger, of course, is that we'll all kind of go off in our own different ways. We'll never agree on what is true. It's one of the reasons that I've been hitting Trump the last couple of days, right? Like these attacks on Florida, when he's going after DeSantis and New York was better on COVID and calling him lockdown Ron and everything else. It's like we all know it's bullshit. He knows it's bullshit. He's not convincing anybody, but a certain amount of people just go along for the ride. And I think that long term that becomes dangerous for the country. The truth is the truth, and we need to be able to know what the truth is. Tony says, how many countries have you visited and which was your favorite? I'm up to 14 myself with another 2 to 3 in the works this year. I'm probably around 14 or so, maybe a dozen. No, it's got to be a little bit more than that. With Jordan, I did a whole bunch of countries because we did all the Nordic countries, and I've done UK, and I've done Italy, and I've done Egypt, and I've done Israel, and I've done Hungary and Canada and Mexico. And yeah, so it's somewhere around there. What was my favorite country? Well, I would say the best moment, when I was bouncing from country to country with Jordan, the best moment, I can't say this was my favorite country overall, but the best moment was going to Sweden, where we did 2 shows because the first show sold out in literally 2 minutes. And we were like, holy cow, what's going on here? So we added a second show. And, you know, Sweden, which is it's a beautiful country, and the people are beautiful, and it's very clean and all that. It's having problems with immigration and everything else. They have a real political correctness problem there. And to go there and talk to the people, it was actually one night after the second show, I was doing Jordan would do his meet and greet, and I would do a separate meet and greet if people wanted to chat with me after. And it was so packed, we had like several hundred people, that I said, you know, we got to get out of here. Let's just all go to a restaurant together. And we all went to a restaurant, and there were philosophers and famous Swedish comedians and authors and all of these people. And we just talked for hours and hours that night. It was just an absolutely wonderful night. Jen says, have you commented on the AI-generated photos of Trump and Fauci that came out a week or so ago from the DeSantis campaign? Tim Pool brought it up, and unless I missed it, it's just sort of failed away without comment. So yeah, I think I mentioned it briefly on the show maybe a week or so ago. It wasn't a campaign ad. On the Rapid Response DeSantis Twitter account, they put up a video of Trump and Fauci, Trump praising Fauci, which was not manipulated. And then they did put up, I had to watch the video twice to even see what they had done, because I watched it and I was like, why is everyone freaking out about this? There was 2 or 3 small pictures of Trump hugging Fauci that were not real. They were AI. Now, let me just say this. First off, they shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. Everyone's going to do it. Does Trump lie about everything? Sure. But like, you can't, AI is so dangerous, that we are going to so manipulate images and voice and video and everything else, that it is just a dangerous path to hell that we're probably going down one way or another, when people will no longer know, speaking of truth, when people will no longer know what's true one way or another. They put it up. They got hit hard for it. I don't think that they'll do it again. I didn't feel the need to make a big deal about it because, again, the other side's lying about pretty much everything. This was a very, it really was minor in that if you watch the whole video, it didn't change what the truth of the video was, that Trump gave Fauci an award on the way out, that he repeatedly praised him and everything else. If they had used AI to manipulate the truth in a way, then I would have hit them harder on it. But for sure, it was a mistake. And you open that Pandora's box of AI, and you better be very careful, because what comes out could really come to bite in the butt. Snow Baby says, as an employer, what are some things that you value greater than potential profit? I've always felt an employer should consider the safety of their employees one of their priorities. The bottom line is important. I know you drug your team from the I know you drug your team from the dumpster fire of California. Yes, I did save all you people from California. I always say to my guys, I don't want to grow just for the sake of growing. You know what I mean? There's always ways that we can figure out how to grow the show, and then I can hire more people, and we can grow the show, and I can hire more people and everything else. One of the things that I'm very proud about here is we have never, believe it or not, we have never put a dime into advertising on this show. So if you watch all of the shows that are our comps, everybody puts a ton of ads into YouTube and all that stuff. We have never put a dime. Every bit of our growth has been completely organic. And that was sort of for me, it wasn't that I didn't want to spend the money on that. It was just like, all right, so I put more money into the advertising. We get more viewers. Now I hire more people. Then I put more advertising in. We get more viewers. I hire more people. It just seemed like, let's just keep doing something that's nice and tight and trim. I'd say the most important thing when you have a team like this is that you want everybody to feel fulfilled and rewarded. So my policy on work, as I always tell the guys, it's like, as long as you do your work, I don't care when you do it or how you do it. But we have an incredibly, incredibly tight team now. Nothing ever slips through the cracks. I know my guys are going to show up in the morning. I know I'm going to wake up every morning and my rundown with Phoenix is going to be ready to roll, and we work through it, and then it happens. I know when we're doing the show that Connor running the board is going to get to the right videos at the right time. I'm putting a lot of pressure on you today. Anything could happen. And we just know that it's all going to work. So I think just making people feel like they're valued and important, and I'll feed you guys on Saturday. We're going to have a big birthday party. I'm going to feed you probably filet mignon, but we shall see. David says, while I understand the support for Governor DeSantis, I fear this Republican civil war is just what the Dems wanted. How do you think DeSantis wins the general without MAGA? How does either candidate win with a split base? Well, first off, I think that whoever the nominee is, most of the people will come around, right? Look, am I supporting DeSantis? Yes. Am I pissed that Trump, even this morning again, with this Florida nonsense and the COVID, that he keeps doing this. Yes. Will I vote for Trump if it's Biden against him? Obviously. And I think that's the way most people feel. It just, there's a primary and you fight it out in the primary. That's just kind of how it is. So I think it's a key piece of this to make sure that you're not burning everything down. That's why I think the lies out of the Trump side are so dangerous, because you don't, when you say, okay, Ron DeSantis is a rhino and he's Soros-backed and he's friends with Paul Ryan and Karl Rove and all that, it's like these are literally made-up fabrications. They're made-up fabrications, and especially on the COVID stuff, it's completely counter to reality. But you're telling a certain set of your people that, and they're going to believe it, and then they're not going to vote. I'm fairly certain that 99% of the DeSantis supporters, at the end of the day, if it's Trump, especially the Floridians, if it's Trump and then DeSantis stays the governor of Florida, they'll vote for him. And then that's how it'll be for me. Like, at the end of this, people are like, Dave, you're going to come crawling back to Trump. But I'm like, look, first off, I think it's important to fight for what you think is right? Whether I agree with you or not, if you're fighting for what you principally believe is right, then that's good. And at the end, it's just politics. So if my guy loses this one and Trump becomes president, that's fine. What we don't want is Joe Biden to be president again. What we don't want is Kamala Harris. We don't want Gavin Newsom. That's the bigger issue. So you just got to remember, primaries get nasty. Don't forget, literally, during the 2015 primary, Donald Trump said that Ted Cruz's father killed JFK. Okay, that was a lie. It did not happen. Ted Cruz ended up being one of Donald Trump's biggest supporters. So it's like politics is very weird. It makes strange bedfellows. I think most of that stuff will work itself out. Matthew says, do you still talk to Candace Owens? I asked because she moved further to the right. You know, I haven't spoke to her much lately. We did trade a phone call 2 or 3 weeks ago. She had said something that I just wanted to clarify with her. One of the things that I'm not a fan of doing is, especially if I'm friends with somebody, if they say something that I don't agree with or whatever, I'm not just going to blatantly go after them without reaching out to them privately. So I did send her a text, put in a call, missed her, then she called me, I missed her. We just haven't been able to connect. But look, again, as I just said, sort of everyone's entitled to their own political beliefs. I believe that friendship, as a general rule, is more important than politics. It's why when, as the DeSantis-Trump thing heated up, I went out of my way to text Junior and say, hey, I hope we're good to go, and we'll see what happens after this. He immediately responded that we are. We've been friends for over a decade. Same thing with Ivanka. Texted her, and immediately she responded. And that is the weird thing about being part of this. It's like you're allies with people one day, and then seemingly you're in opposition, and it can start getting real nasty. But like, if you realize there are more important things about being a human than just winning in politics, I think you'll be okay. Pratt says, Fox now has many ads from BlackRock. Follow the money. I also spotted an anti-oil sands ad being from Alberta, definitely caught my attention. Follow the money. Has Fox been bought out? So Fox has a lot of ads from BlackRock. I didn't know that specifically. So I'll take your word for it, but I can't verify that just on the fly. Have they been bought out? Look, it's a little hard to tell what's going on with Fox. They lost the Dominion lawsuit, which was about the election and all that stuff. It was about $800 million. And then obviously, what was it, 2 weeks later, Tucker, it was out over there. Dan Bongino was out soon after. Or maybe Bongino was out just a few days before, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so it's hard to tell what exactly is going on there. What I can tell you from my back and forths with the Fox people is we get emails every week. Would you like to do this show, that show, the other show? I always say the same thing. As long as it's live and I'm unedited, I will go on the shows. So, lately I've been doing Dana Perino a lot. I do some of the other shows. I'm not doing the evening. People always ask, why aren't you used to do Hannity all the time? I was on Tucker and the more of the evening shows. I don't do them just because my life has changed now. Obviously with kids, like I just don't want to be in studio. It was easier when I was on the West Coast. We're here now, and I didn't have kids, where now I have kids. Like, I just don't want to be in studio at 7 o'clock. Like, we're either putting them to bed or I just want to be around a little bit more. So it's much easier for me. I'd always rather do something from like 7 a.m. to say 5 p.m., something like that. So there's no grand conspiracy there. But my personal policy on Fox, which would be even if CNN called me now, and CNN has never called me. We've tried to get on many times over the years. I don't try anymore. And even if MSNBC, if you will put me on unedited and live, that's it. Those are my obligations. Those are my requests. Then I'll do it. But so I can't speak to what's going on the advertising side. I don't know. Talway says, I've noticed you haven't had much to say about the lost submarine that went after the Titanic. Rather than asking your thoughts about the sub and the passengers itself, I'm more curious as to your thoughts on the reactions and responses to this crisis. And do you see this as part of the degradation of society through social media? So for those of you that haven't paid attention to this, this is the story that everyone's been talking about these last few days. There was this expedition by a billionaire and a few other people to go see some of the remnants of the Titanic. And now the ship that they went on, the submersible, has disappeared. There is an operation right now trying to find them, but Phoenix was telling me right before we started, it sounds like at this point they've most likely run out of oxygen and died. What you're referring to there, Talway, is that the media's reaction to this and social media's reaction, like people joyfully, celebrating that a billionaire died or how stupid these people were. I mean, it's all just gross, but social media just does gross things with everything. But I think we have this one headline. I saw this. This is truly beyond imagination. Like my quote tweet of this was, I'm actually speechless. This is from the New Republic. Look at this headline. OceanGate CEO missing in Titanic sub had history of donating to GOP candidates. What the high hell does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? Are you celebrating this man's death and the death of the other people on board, and there was a 19-year-old because this guy may or may not have voted or supported or given money to Republicans? Like, how freaking twisted could you possibly be? It's just incredible. But yeah, you just see awful things on social media all day, and partly why I try not to be on the Twitter on the weekends, and I just hang out with you guys on Locals and post food and pictures of the kids and that sort of thing, and it's why I do the Off the Grid August. I think it just keeps me fresh, and that's it. Quinn says, if I'm not mistaken, Dave's birthday is next week. How are you celebrating? Beef, fish, pork, or chicken? All of the moink options. So my birthday is on Monday. We're having a team dinner for everybody here on Saturday, and I'm trying to decide what to do. It kind of depends on the weather. Florida this time of year, you can just get crazy storms. Later today, I'm going to try to get to the place where I get my big-ass briskets. We may do some filet mignon if they don't have a brisket that I like, but if I can get a nice, 14-pound Wagyu brisket, I'll put that on I'll try to put it on about 6 in the morning, and we could eat about 7 o'clock at night, let it go for about 12 hours and knock that out. And you guys eat meat? Michaela, you eat meat? Meat? Okay, everybody's going to eat some meat. We'll see. I don't think we have no vegetarians on this team. That would be my red line in terms of hiring. I am not going to have one of those soy boy freaks on this team, okay? So yeah, it will be red meat related, I promise you that. And we'll get some pictures up, of course. Joe says, in your opinion, which religious story offers the best life advice? This is very easy for me. Because I mention it so often, and I've written about it, and I just think it's the one that is the most important, especially these days as we have a time of big government and big tech. It's David versus Goliath. The little guy can beat the big guy. There is a reason that is a biblical story that has resonated with people for literally thousands of years. It's not just that David had the slingshot and was able to take out the giant, right? It's not just that. It's that you have a chance to do something against the machine, right? Like, if you really believe that, you might start doing things. You might build a company. Like, why was I like, all right, everyone was complaining about big tech and all these problems, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll just start a company, Locals, and we'll just see what happens. Well, Locals eventually then merged with Rumble. Rumble's now the #1 competitor to YouTube. YouTube's the Goliath in this situation. I really fundamentally believe that if David can beat Goliath, then Dave can beat Google. This Dave. So if you get that concept, I mean, that's the purpose of biblical stories. They're not just like some of the stories are more fun, right? Noah is a kind of fun story. He got all these animals and they built a boat and that's nuts, right? And it's kind of fun. And if you watch I actually thought the movie with, what's his name from Gladiator? Who's the actor? Russell Crowe. I actually thought that movie was pretty good. They fictionized it a little bit and it has some sci-fi elements or whatever. But the point of a good story, it is going to unleash a hidden truth, right? And if you fundamentally believe that, and I think truth is so fundamental that when it's released, it's like it cannot be stopped. Because if you did not believe that you could beat the big guy, that the little guy could beat the big guy, then how could you go about and accomplish your dreams? How could you ever have the hero's adventure or any of that kind of stuff? So I think that, for me, that's the one that resonates the most. It's like, you've always got a chance, but you got to take that chance, right? I'm guessing David was pretty nervous before. You know, he's putting the slingshot together going, oh shit, that guy's huge. But you know what? One shot, he won. And then it worked out. He became the king. Pretty good. Mike says, hey, Dave, when today's children are growing up, many of them will be suffering both physically and psychologically from current year sex change surgeries. Do you think the Democrats will own the mess they created, or will there be more smoke and mirrors, like when they lied and said it was really Republicans who wanted to defund the police? That's a great analogy. And unfortunately, yes, smoke and mirrors. At what point in the last 10 years of this craziness has the left ever said, boy, maybe we went a little too far? Maybe defunding the police, burning down our cities was a bit much. Maybe relentlessly lying about Trump and Russia collusion was a bit much. Maybe calling Brett Kavanaugh a serial rapist, like, you know all the stories, right? Like, everything that they lie about, the machine then covers up for them. Did you see this clip? We could have showed it on the show today. Adam Schiff was on Anderson Cooper last night, and Anderson Cooper actually did a halfway decent job of journalism. He basically was like, you know, so it all kind of turned out to be nothing. Now, of course, Anderson Cooper was pushing Russia collusion for 3 years, but he basically was like, you know, it turned out to be nothing. Do you regret anything? And Schiff is like, nope, don't regret it. We'll do it all over again. And it's like, Schiff should be embarrassed. Schiff should never want to show up at a restaurant again. Schiff should be living in a cave somewhere, right? But he won't. He will, you know, he's a congressman now. He says he's going to run for senator. And knowing Democrat privilege, he will probably become the next senator from California, right? Like, that, these people fail their way up. It's just absolutely extraordinary how they do it. So no, I don't anticipate, you know, the people who lied and lied and lied about COVID, right? All the people who demanded, who weeks before were telling you my body, my choice when it was a woman's right related to abortion and pregnancy and that sort of thing. Suddenly we're saying, no, it's not your choice. You damn well better get injected with this experimental vaccine that's actually not a vaccine. We're going to have to redefine the word vaccine because this thing does not vaccinate, which is what vaccines usually were known to do before the COVID vaccine. They get away with everything. I think the comeuppance that you're looking for will not be that the Democrats as a party or the media as an institution will come around and say, we're sorry, we really screwed that one up. I think what's going to happen is actually going to be something much more twisted, which is that the generation of kids right now who are undergoing chemical castration and hormone therapy and being so mentally and physically abused, when they are adults and when their parents are now aging out, they are going to send them to some freaking nasty old age homes. There is going to be, I mean, I'm not actually kidding on this. I think there's going to be elder abuse that you cannot imagine. These parents have failed their basic duty as a human being, as a parent. And they're going to be sending them to shady pines from hell. There's going, I mean, it's, you know, it's like I can be glib about it, but I think there's going to be a mass generational problem. Imagine if you're 14 right now and your parents allowed you to do this, and now you're 28 and your genitals don't match, and all of the stuff, the psychological stuff and the drugs and everything else. How angry you would be at those people who it was their most sacred duty to protect you, and they did not do it. On top of all the teachers who did it and everything else. Yeah, so they'll be held to pay, but it's not going to come from the Democrats or mainstream media. Kathy says, would you like one of your sons to follow in your footsteps and work on the Rubin Report? You know, that's a good one. Well, Justin, I mean, this kid is so, first off, they're both 95th or 96th percentile in height and weight. They're huge. Both of them are absolutely huge. Justin is a beast. This kid is climbing over everything, ripping wallpaper, anything he can find anywhere. If he's eating Clyde's toys. I got Clyde, the dog, is eating all the baby toys, and the kid's eating all the dog toys. It's just bananas downstairs. We got like just everywhere. I'm just trying to make sure that whatever he's climbing on, he's just not going to get too high and hurt himself. He's going to do something physical in life. It's very obvious. He's clearly going to be a great athlete, something like that. Luke is just a thinker. This kid just sits there and he stares at you and he's thinking, and he's very serious. And then every now and again, little smile, because he knows something's up. I don't know what he knows, but you know, you see these kids every now and again, you're like, he knows something. I'm not exactly sure what it is. So I think he's going to be like a playwright or a writer or an author or something like that. And Justin is definitely going to do something. And Justin's going to be like a ditch digger, or he's just going to do something physical, I can tell. But as far as like working on this, I mean, look, their last names are Rubin. Somebody's going to have to take over when the old man retires. It's going to be like Secession. You know what I mean? There's just going to be a war over who's going to get to host the Rubin Report. They're going to do a series on HBO. We shall see. Joking aside, I just want to support whatever will make them fulfilled and hopefully a little bit happy, but happiness should not be the goal. Purpose should be the goal, and hopefully we'll give them the tools to do just that. Dave says, just discovered the improvements in the Locals Apple TV app. Ah, very nice. We're now watching on the iPad over dinner and moved to the Apple TV on the big screen. You look fabulous. It even remembers where we stopped on the iPad. Keep up the good work. So I've been telling you, I know people are always... there's a lack of patience when it comes to building things, but you really got to understand what we're doing at Locals and Rumble. We are building everything ourselves. We are not outsourcing stuff. We're not bringing in third parties. The cloud infrastructure is what Rumble built itself. Literally, the physical pieces are owned. The hardware is owned by Rumble. There are cloud servers all over the place. I don't even know where they all are. I'm not even supposed to know where they all are because you want cloud servers in various places so they can't just be taken out, right? Like that's next level warfare when the machines take over and they start blowing up buildings because that's where the servers are that are running the internet. That's a whole other sci-fi Black Mirror adventure right there. But we are building everything ourselves. So I'm glad to see that the new Apple TV app is humming along quite nicely. We are working on some call-in features. We acquired the call-in app that David Sachs created. So I'll be able to do a live call-in, audio call-in show with you guys, which I can't wait till we incorporate it in the app. So that will be something for subscribers. So we'll start doing a new version of the show, or it'll be part of the post-game show or something, where you guys can call in old school radio like Larry King when he would do his TV show and he'd be interviewing somebody, and then they would take callers that were screened in, but we're not even going to screen them because if you guys pay a couple bucks, I'm going to trust that you're a decent human being. That cleans up almost everything. And we're working on a whole host of other features. I told you we're working on messaging to messaging, meaning that you guys can message each other, having nothing to do with me once you're in the app. A whole bunch of other stuff. So just hang tight. But I promise you, it's all coming. It's all coming. One more for you. If you could learn, this is Elizabeth, if you could learn instantly any language, what would it be? Look, I live in South Florida. My Spanish could be better. I am working on it a bit, but we have so many Cubans down here, so many Venezuelans, Guatemalans, so many people. Spanish is just ubiquitous down here. And if I could brush up a little bit, I could probably get more of my house projects done because I got a lot of guys coming in and I got to do translate and they got to do translate and it would save a lot of time. So un poquito español, muy bien. A little Spanish, very good. Guys, if you have not subscribed, please do so on rumble.com/Rubin Report. If you want to join us for these community Q&As, join us at rubinreport.locals.com. We've got a post-game show coming up for the local subscribers in just a moment. We leave you with a cold close that I think you'll enjoy, and I'll see everybody on the other side. Adios, which is, what is it? Goodbye in Spanish.
Oh, boy, look at this. Yeah, okay. This looks good. Very, very good. All right, and I like what you're wearing.
You feel fat.
No, you're stout. The camera loves stoutness. Look, the key word is tasteful. Now, I want you to relax and have fun, because you're a fun guy. Feel the beat! All right. Well, you got some real strong pecs, but it's hard to tell under that T-shirt.
You want me to take it off?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you.
Do you think it would be better if I did?
It might be. I mean, whatever you... Come on! Yeah. That's it. Come on. Give it to me. Come on, work it! Oh, yeah! Own it! Yeah, be a man! Be a...
Oh, God. This photo clearly indicates your involvement in some ill-conceived mail-order pornography ring, as does this one, found in the same disturbing packet.
Oh, my God!
We have a few questions we'd like you to answer.
I have a few questions of my own.